Harriet and Troy. The tragic doom that occurred within the walls of the church. Troy stood anxiously outside the old church. He had chosen this place specifically, as the tales of its haunted past had caught his attention. He was here to see Harriet, the woman who had supposedly been coming here every evening in recent weeks, though no one knew what she was doing there or why. Troy had stumbled across Harriet's name completely by chance. While browsing the local papers, he was immediately captivated by her name, her face, and the lack of information there was about her. He was also quite curious about what she could possibly be doing at the church. He figured out Harriet's address and had been stalking her for the past few weeks. He knew that she had to be going to the church, so he decided to follow her one night. That's how he found himself standing in the shadows outside the old church. Soon enough, Harriet arrived, looking more mysterious than ever. She walked slowly to the entrance, her eyes darting around, her steps tentative. Troy felt a chill as he watched her, a feeling of dread that seemed to follow her everywhere. He followed her silently as she entered the church, his heart pounding with anticipation in his chest. Inside the church, Harriet stopped in front of an old altar, seemingly transfixed. Troy stood in the darkness, watching her curiously. After a few moments, she began to speak, her voice low and creepy. "I have been coming here almost every night, searching for answers," she said. "But all I seem to find are more questions. I can feel something here, something dark and sinister. I can sense an evil presence lurking in the shadows, just beyond my vision." Troy shuddered as he watched her. There was a darkness in her voice that made him feel uneasy. He wanted to leave, to run away, but he couldn't move. He was completely transfixed by Harriet's words. Suddenly, a loud scream echoed through the church, sending a cold chill down Troy's spine. Harriet turned, her eyes wide and terrified. "You!" she shouted, her voice trembling. "You've been following me all this time. I know it was you." Troy froze, paralyzed with fear. He wanted to run, to escape from the church, but his feet were rooted to the ground. Suddenly, Harriet began to chant something in a language Troy didn't understand. The chanting grew louder and louder, and the darkness around them seemed to thicken. Then, out of the shadows, a figure appeared. It was a tall, hooded figure with pale skin and blood-red eyes. Troy was frozen to the spot, too terrified to move. The figure appeared to be looking right at him, and he felt a deep, overwhelming fear like he had never felt before. Then, without warning, the figure launched itself toward Troy and Harriet. Troy felt his vision go dark as he was hit by a force he could not comprehend. The next thing Troy knew, he was lying in a pool of his own blood. Everything else was a blur. He looked up to see the figure hovering above him, Harriet laying lifeless and bloody on the ground next to him. Troy managed to turn his head and see that the hooded figure was gone. Then, his vision faded as he slipped away into unconsciousness. When Troy awoke, he was in a hospital. He was told that he had been found outside the church and that he was incredibly lucky to be alive. Strangely, the police could find no trace of the hooded figure, or of Harriet. That night, Troy had experienced a horror he could never have imagined. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and tell us what you think in the comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.